In other news, as pressure grows on Deputy Prime Minister David Lammy after his lamentable performance in the Commons yesterday, in which he refused to answer a straight question about the wrongful release of a second asylum seeker sex offender, Tory leader Kemi Badenoch has furiously torn into him for playing the race card. Well, look, let's have a look the memory of what happened yesterday when he went into this is the Deputy Prime Minister standing in for Keir Starmer, who's off on another one of his plane trips. He loves getting on aeroplanes, our Prime Minister, like a little kid, gets very excited. This time he's in Brazil, having flown all the way 12,000 miles to South America, destroying the planet with all those aeroplane carbon emissions. He's now over there to save the planet. COP30, waste of space that is, of course. So David Lammy stood in for him, and standing in for Kemi Badenoch was the shadow Defence Secretary James Cartledge. James Cartledge, a quiet man, quietly asked the Deputy Prime Minister 5 times, could he assure the House that no more asylum seekers have been mistakenly let out of prison after the debacle surrounding the wrongful release of that guy Hadoush Kabatu, the Ethiopian that they let out of Chelmsford jail mistakenly 2 weeks ago. Let's recall Lammy's moment of shame, to be honest with you.
Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison?
Let me just remind him that he was a justice minister that allowed our prisons to get to this state in the first place.
I'm going to ask him the question again. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a very specific question for him to answer.
I put in place the toughest checks we've ever had in the prison system.
Mr. Speaker, he's the Justice Secretary. He's responsible for the justice system. He needs to take responsibility, and I'm asking him a straight question. And I'm going to repeat it once more for the avoidance of doubt, because he didn't answer it twice. He's here to answer questions. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? It's a clear question. Can he give an answer?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Get a grip, man. I know I'm the Justice Secretary. That's why I'm at the dispatch box, also as Deputy Prime Minister. We know that.
People in Epping and right across the country want to know the answer, Mr. Speaker. So I'm going to ask him again. He's the Justice Secretary. Can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? Can he answer the question?
I have answered the question. Under their watch, prisons were in a mess.
I'm putting to him a very clear question about his responsibilities. I repeat, can he reassure the House that since Kabatu was released, no other asylum-seeking offender has been accidentally let out of prison? Can he answer the question?
In 25 years in this House, I've not witnessed a more shameful spectacle, frankly, than what the party opposite left in our justice system. Their criminal negligence on his watch as a former justice minister.
My new hero, James Cartledge, absolutely stitching Lammy up like a kipper there. I mean, Lammy, you know, is not known for his intellect, and he walked right into that. And some serious questions now being asked, because what that was deliberate obfuscation. And by not answering that straight question, we know, I mean, Lammy's saying, I wasn't in possession of all the facts. Yes, he was. We all know that he knew about the fact that this Algerian, this second sex offender, asylum seeker sex offender, had been released last Wednesday accidentally from Wandsworth prison here in London. He knew. He says he didn't know all of the facts. Yes, he did. What he opted to do, there's a report, or there are rumours that his team said, if you admit to this in the chamber, you'll be committing career suicide. So he obfuscated. Now, I don't think that is acceptable, because by not answering that straight, simple question, he is effectively deceiving MPs and therefore deceiving the people. That is parliamentary pollution, corruption. That is wrong, don't you think?
Well, I mean, it's wrong on so many levels, but just watching that piece of theatre there, it was just astounding. There was a man who was completely out of his depth, who didn't know what he was doing, who was losing his rag. You know, I was watching it, and I kept thinking about that Christmas card with with Sherry Blair holding back Tony Blair because he looks like he's about to attack someone. You know, so there's a sense that he really doesn't know what he's doing. But the day before, he was out buying a suit, right? But not only when he said, "Oh," he tried to deny it, and then because he said he was doing it in his own time, and then his own people corrected him and said, "No, it was the day before." This is a complete car crash.
He's a buffoon. He's a buffoon. By the way, the new suit he gave us the reason why when he. Oh, actually, I can talk. Mine's fallen off. Where's my poppy? Anybody? Yeah, I can talk, but it has fallen off. But seriously,
you were definitely wearing one.
Yeah. This is not the time to be saying this, but he actually did this sort of big Remembrance Day speech and wasn't wearing a poppy. So it's excuses now. Nobody believes this buffoon, this fool, this idiot, when he says, I wasn't in possession of all the facts, that's why I didn't answer that straight question. And Robert Jenrick, the Shadow Justice Secretary, put it rather plainly when he appeared on ITV's Good Morning Britain show this morning.
David Lammy's argument that he didn't want to release it before it was official. And so the argument you're giving for the Conservative could well have been in David Lammy's mind. Maybe I better not say.
Well, Kate, it's very early in the morning and your viewers are still having their breakfast, but that I'm afraid, if you excuse my language, is total. The Met Police immediately debunked that and said that they had no objection whatsoever to David Lammy standing at the dispatch box and saying it like it was. And in fact, it would have been helpful because there's now a manhunt underway trying to find a dangerous man who endangers the public. And if David Lammy had helped to get that message out, it would have been helpful. Because look, this is serious. We can laugh about David Lammy and the clown show that he did in the House of Commons and the way he's conducting himself as the so-called Deputy Prime Minister of our country. But this is the second convicted sex offender, illegal migrant, who was due to be deported in 2 weeks, who has now been allowed to walk out of a prison without so much of anyone trying to stop them. Okay. And this man is out on the street.
Yeah, so Robert Jenrick on daytime TV, breakfast TV. This one, but by the way, it's back on. Yeah, it was sort of. I put some sticky tape on there. These new ones, these paper ones, are kind of difficult to keep on. So there's been, it's disgraceful. David Lammy wasn't wearing his poppy. So actually, I'm going to forgive him for that. But anyway, I would never not wear one deliberately, and I'm in fairness, nor would Lammy, I suspect. But Jenrick making it very clear that no one believes Lammy when he says he wasn't in possession of the facts. The Met Police making it pretty clear that he was appraised the night before. He knew all about it, there's no doubt about that. He was told, apparently, you admit to that in the chamber, you'll commit career suicide. Why? Just be honest with us. Be honest with us. Stop all this. It's a nonsense. Now, interesting side issue here, Philip. Before he entered the chamber and made a complete fool of himself, Lammy, standing in for the Prime Minister, he posted this on Twitter. X, as it's now called, proud to be the first black person to answer at Prime Minister's questions. So, of course, Kemi, the other side of the dispatch box, old stager now, she's the Tory leader who happens to be black. So he's boasting about the fact he's the first black guy to stand in for a Prime Minister at Prime Minister's questions time. Kemi Badenoch, who is in a position to do this and to say this, she said in no uncertain terms, clearly furious, she said, don't drag black people into the mess you made of yourself this afternoon. Proud moments come from performance, not pigmentation. That's pretty powerful.
Absolutely. It's brilliant from Kemi Badenoch, and it's again brilliant from Robert Jenrick as well. I was trying to think. Viewers might correct me on this, but I've never heard, Kev, a politician swear on television like that. That was an important moment in a way, because he was so exasperated, rightly so. It was almost like Kenneth Tynan in 1975 or the Sex Pistols in 1976. You know, it was a moment, wasn't it, actually,
Yeah.
where things are actually changing.
You're right.
Well, things are actually changing. And of course, the Tories have done all of these firsts. You know, they had the first female Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, you know, of Indian heritage, was a Prime Minister. They've done all of these things. So every time the Labour Party trot out these identitarian cliches time and time again, they're always covering up ineptitude. And as she says, this is a key thing. You know, black people don't want to be associated with complete failure and diversity hires like him. That's the very last thing they want. And this is always the downside of identity politics. It's the laughing stocks always rise to the top because they always shout the loudest, and the real talent who don't shout, who just kind of, you know, do the job and stay quiet, they don't rise. That's the inequity. That's the problem with wokeness and identity politics.
And I think that the way to play, if you're a person of colour in a prominent position in politics, the way to play it is the way Rishi Sunak played it, the way Kemi Badenoch plays it, by not really mentioning it.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be relevant. It isn't particularly relevant. I mean, Kemi Badenoch is be the equivalent of so proud to be the first black woman to lead the Tory party and all this sort of stuff. It demeans the whole racial debate. It really does. And him boasting about it and then making an oafish fool of himself like that, I mean, quite what he thinks that achieved, I don't know. Well, listen, let me know what you think about that, the race issue, and also I think this is important. I said this to Isabel Oakeshott last night. I think that rules of the House have to be changed. Old Speaker Sir Lindsay Hoyle has to be able to. He's not empowered to do this at the moment. He's very fond of saying, if you don't be quiet, I'll have you thrown out of chamber. No, I've told you before. I've told you. No. I won't have that. I won't have that. I won't have that. He loves all that crap. But what he should be allowed to do... It's quite good, that, wasn't it?
It was
I
fantastic.
won't have that. No. I've told the honourable member before. I've had that to my repertoire. I'm
joking.
So, but I think what Lindsay Hoyle... Take this seriously, Philip. I'm trying to make a very serious...
It's just I'm from up there, and it's a really, really good accent.
Right, yeah, this sort of the posh southern boy taking the mickey out of southerners. They love all that out of northerners, yeah. But listen, what I think Sir Lindsay Hoyle should be allowed to do, and we need to change the rules, if across the dispatch box the leader of the opposition or the representative of the opposition is asking the Prime Minister a very straight question, yes or no, the Speaker must be empowered, I think, to say, look, you can't obfuscate this. You're not on telly now avoiding a question by Jeremy Paxman. This is the House of Commons. This is where MPs represent the people, and by obfuscating and refusing to answer straight questions, you're deceiving the people, and that is not acceptable. We cannot let what we saw yesterday with that idiot Lammy ever happen again. It was a disgrace to democracy.
Yeah,
it really,
exactly.
It really, really was.